Hawks are building a premium of defense. I think they've seen what OKC did, just how they suffocated people, and they're adding all these guys that can defend. You know, you add a Porzingis who's a matchup nightmare in terms of being able to switch and slide his feet. You already have Dyson Daniels, who's an all-league defender. You're getting Jalen Johnson back from injury, who's a good defender. You're now adding Nickeil Alexander, who's a good defender. You're adding all this defense around Trey.
We liked Zachary Risache last
year.
Yeah,
and Zachary showed a lot of flashes. Yeah. Again, he didn't have the big rookie year as a number one pick does, but he showed plenty of flashes where people were like, this guy's talented as fuck. And maybe what we lacked for his rookie year, who gives a shit? We weren't winning anything anyway. By year 3 or 4, we might have something really special here. I like his game. So the Hawks are a very young, talented team with a veteran point guard now who's still Trae Young. They're a team that next year is going to be a thorn in people's sides, especially with the East being so dead and so wide open. You got to now start looking at Atlanta and Orlando, these new two teams who have entered the chat. Boston will be still good, but they're not going to be as good, obviously, without Tatum. Indiana's going to be good, but they're not going to be as good, obviously, without Halliburton. Yeah. So these aren't teams that we're putting in the championship conversation. They'll just be playoff teams. So now you wonder who's the team that's going to take these steps. Well, New York, it's wide open. New York, if you've had any time, it's right now. Yeah. This season is it.
And so far, all I've done is add Jordan Clarkson. Do you think they should make a bigger splash, or do you think just stay pat? You already have a good team.
You had a very good team. Yeah. The only issue you had last year was what? You had no bench scoring. Oh, well, now you went and got one of the best bench scorers in the league. They don't need too much, guys. Yeah. I would like another point guard. I would like a point guard. All right, they didn't play Cam Payne a lot, so if you're not going to play him, then let's go get someone you will play, because Jalen Brunson's mileage is something that we have to clock and start watching. If it's not clocking to you, I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, they have to find something that they can rely on. How the Magic went and got Tyus Jones for 1 year $7.
Yeah, the Knicks could have used him.
Knicks, you couldn't sign him for like 1 year $5, 1 year $7. You probably would have took $2 million less to be on your team. Be living in New York at the Knicks.
Tyus Jones and Desmond Bain were teammates in Memphis too. So I like that little.
That's true. No, for sure. But I feel like they could use another handler. You know, they have a lot of wings, between Mikal and Josh and OG and all these guys, right? Even Carl's a big who's capable, but like in terms of ball, even Deuce McBride, who's very undersized, he's a shooting guard. That's why I said he's undersized. He's not a point guard. He's a shooting guard. So like they don't have another point guard other than Brunson and Cam Payne, who they don't play enough. Maybe the new coach will come in and be like, yo, Cam, I'm actually going to use you 15 minutes a game. Tibbs didn't. You will play here. I think Cam Payne's fully capable of being a backup point guard. He's done it before on a championship team with the Suns. I think all he needs is an opportunity. But depending on what, you have to might go get someone else. Other than that, they're pretty damn good at locked. All right? The Knicks don't need much, especially with the decline of the two top teams in the East, with their stars being out for next year at least. Let's just run the same motion back.
The Cavs lost Ty Jerome, they ended up trading for Lonzo Ball. So I thought that was
not to mention a new coach would be a new shot of life. Let's not forget the Cavs didn't make a major blockbuster trade. They just got a new coach. That was a new fresh breath of air. They went and got Bickerstaff went to Detroit where he's done his thing, and they went and got Kenny Atkinson. That created a whole new offense, new life, a whole new thing.
And Evan Mobley taking that step too.
For sure. Yeah. But I'm saying Knicks are going to have guys who are going to continue to excel and do well. They got a great team. I think their team is just over like Mykonos partying. They have like a great camaraderie. You add now a Jordan Clarkson, where you had the most glaring issue of all last year is like bench scoring. This is what he does. And then you're going to have a new coach that's going to come in there, and it's going to be exciting. They're good. The Cavs are good. Those two teams are next. It's their time. And now teams like Orlando and Atlanta, who have always been like this 5th, 6th seed, like kind of crawling on. Now you look around like pressure's on.
Well, you got to give Orlando and Atlanta credit because they saw Open East and they both made moves. Atlanta adding Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Porzingis, and Luke Kennard. I mean, that's to go along with, like you said, Jalen Johnson coming back from injury. I think they're going to be up there. I think they're going to be a top 4 seed. It'll probably be between them and Detroit. Who do you like better probably for next year? Detroit was like everyone's like fun. Detroit
was really good.
Yeah.
You got to feel for Beasley, and I only say that because we don't know the facts yet.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be something as silly as like a silly bet, or he said he's doing prop bets. I don't know if it was throughout the season. And what happens is when they start looking into it, they start going through his plays. He had that play last year. He went like coast to coast and made the layup. Like last game, it's like stuff like that. People are like, "Yo, what's going on here?" anxiety-wise, it's got to be tough to get offered $40 million, which is his biggest contract he's ever gotten, and have that be on the pause until the NBA is doing this investigation. That's got to be worrisome. You know what I mean? If you're a guy like Beasley, who was already hanging on in the NBA, then has a great year and gets his largest contract at the end of his career. You know, he's probably got 5 years left playing, maybe 4 years left, being generous. He just got a $40 million contract, man. And now they're like, you know, they're investigating him. That's tough. So hopefully the best works out, and it's proven that he wasn't doing that and he's able to get paid.
Yeah, Terry Rozier just got cleared.
Because he's in Paris, like, fucking around right now. So I was like, this guy's been quiet for like the past 3 months. He's in Paris, like, dripped out. I was like, what's going on here, Terry? He just got cleared.
Yeah.
So sometimes there has to be some due diligence there. Mm-hmm. In this case, you want it to be sooner than later, though, because eventually the Cavs are going to have to make a move here. I'm sorry, the Pistons. They just went and got Karis LeVert. Yeah. Luckily for Beasley, he is not a three-point shooter. So the need for what you do is still there. The only problem is there is another player on your team that does exactly that, and they might just be like, you know what, let's roll with this team right here, and we'll pay Tim Hardaway Jr. next year. We'll give him that $40 million. We're going to give it the end of your prime. We're going to give it the end of Tim's, because y'all are around the same age. We'll give Tim a 3-year, 4-year, $40 million deal, and we're good to go. That's what could possibly happen here. So tough situation to be in. I do have Detroit in the mix. They're very good. Totally forgot about them, to be completely honest, when I started saying Atlanta and the Magic. Detroit's right there in that damn mix too. So I think you have Cleveland, New York out in front, and I think that middle group will be comprised of Atlanta, Orlando, Detroit, with the tail end of Boston still being in the mix. They're just that good. They are. They won't be the same threat. I don't think they beat any of those other teams in a playoff series now without Tatum. Let's just not forget that Boston last year without Tatum came here and was handling the Magic pretty well. Without Suggs and Mo and Baines and Tyus Jones. So Magic are a different team here now. I only put Boston in there just because they're well coached, and they still have Jaylen Brown. You still have Derek White. You're gonna have Anthony Simons. You still have Al Horford. You still have Peyton Pritchard. You still have all these guys. Let's just be mindful and respectful that this team is still a championship team. They're very good. They don't have Tatum, so no, they're not going to win a championship next year. Or do I think they could beat these other teams in a playoff series? No, but they will be in the mix and be in the playoffs. But that's pretty much the East right there.